I'm cutting apart Converse's boot that looks like they just slapped a wedge sole on the bottom of a leather Converse to see if it's actually decent quality or if it just has the appearance of quality like a lot of the other boots we've been cutting apart lately. If you're like me, your hairline has slowly been sneaking back without you noticing, and then one day you look at a photo and you're like, what happened to my hairline? Well, that's where Keeps comes in. Because with Keeps, a licensed doctor will review your information online and recommend the right hair loss treatment for you. Then your treatment is shipped directly to your door every 3 months. And Keeps offers generic versions of FDA-approved medications for hair loss, which make it much more affordable than a lot of other options. And Keeps treatments typically take between 4 and 6 months to start seeing results, so it's important to act fast so you can keep as much of a hairline as you have for as long as you can. So find out why Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors and why hundreds of thousands of men trust their hair loss prevention to Keeps. If you're ready to take action on your hair loss prevention, go to keeps.com/roseanvil or click the link in my description to receive 50% off your first order. That's keeps.com/roseanvil. And thanks again to Keeps for sponsoring this video. Our Black Friday sale is coming up, so if you don't want to miss that and you want an extra 5% off of our already 25% off Black Friday sale and get early access, be sure to sign up for the limited edition email list below. We'll send out an email Thursday morning to give you guys early access and the extra 5% off. So back to the boots. Now let's go over the boot information. So the brand is Converse. The style is the crafted boot Chuck Taylor. The color I have is chocolate. They weigh 1 pound, 1 ounce. They retail for $120 and they're made in Vietnam. Now let's go over the information that we can gather about this boot before we cut it in half, starting with the leather. And this might be the worst looking real leather I've ever seen. It just has a really heavy coat of like polyurethane basically on top of real leather, and they have that fake print on top of it as well. And so the problem with this leather is anytime you start scratching it, you're not just scratching leather, you're scratching that top layer of plastic off. So to me, I'd way rather have an uglier leather that's not quite as consistent than have a leather that has plastic on top. So I'm really bummed out about that. It might be just because they're trying to cover up the fact that it's not a full grain leather. It might just be from splits, but we'll see when we get it cut in half. But it is a chrome tan leather, and it does seem like it's a pretty decent thickness. It's, you know, it's not super thin. So for $120, it's not horrible. I just hate that leather, or I just hate that plastic finish on top. Next to the lining, so in classic Converse style, you got the canvas lining on the inside that runs all the way through the boot. That serves two purposes. Because this is a cheaper leather, it does stretch a little bit, so the fabric gives it a little bit more structure and stretch resistance. And it also gives you an extra layer between you and the leather, because some people don't like those little teeny fibers that shed from just raw leather. Then to the construction of this boot. So this looks like it's a Goodyear welted boot, but I'm willing to bet it's not for $120. And I can even see right now that there's a lot of glue that's holding this welt on. So once we get it cut in half, we'll do a little rip test and see if we can tear one of these apart, because I have a feeling it's gonna go pretty easily. So my guess is it's a cemented construction with a fake Goodyear welt. Then to the insert, or the insole. So this is an Ortholite insole. You know, nothing special, nothing bad. It's just a cheap insole that is removable. So if you need some more comfort or you need a little more arch support, you can slip something different inside of there. Then next to the outsole, and this is kind of the part about this boot that really makes it stand out, is this really big chunky outsole. The bottom layer of the outsole, this black layer, is a softer rubber. It's gonna help you get some grip and also be a little more wear resistant than just having this really soft foam as the outsole. Putting it on the durometer tester, it comes in at 55 Shore A, so a little bit on the soft side, but it is a casual boot. You're not trying to work in this boot by any means. And then above that is the soft EVA foam midsole. This is gonna give you a lot of that squish and the comfort that people are looking for, assuming they're looking for in this boot, because why else would you want a huge chunky Converse boot? And the interesting thing about this style is I think this is based after, there's a lot of Japanese guys that will take worn out Chuck Taylors, they sew on this foxing basically around the outside and sew that to a leather welt and then slap an outsole on the bottom. So I think Converse has kind of stolen that idea. I don't know for sure, it's just kind of what it seems like, and made it into a full production boot, which to me is a little bit cheesy, because they're taking something that takes a lot of handcrafting and dedication to make, and making a really cheap, fast version of it. But if you don't want to pay someone to do that, it is at least a way that you can get this style for 120 bucks. So that covers most of the basics and what we know about it already. One thing I don't like about this is this tongue isn't gusseted anywhere. It literally starts here and it's not attached anywhere. So this tongue's gonna be sliding all over the place. And I'll show you that when we get it cut in half. So let's cut it in half. All right, we got it chopped. Let's see what's inside. Very basic construction. Now we know for sure that it is a cemented construction. Now let's try tearing one of these apart and just see if we can get it to tear. Ooh, easy peasy. So $120 boot, you get the fake Goodyear welt that's not gonna hold up super great. That was probably the easiest boot I've ever torn apart. But now that it's torn, you can clearly see that the upper is just sewn to this thin fiber board for the lasting board, and then the fake Goodyear welt is just glued on. It's not really sewn to anything. And the outsole is just a single layer with no shank, but it does have these nice little cutouts here to help you flex in the toe. And really, other than that, there's really nothing else to this boot. You know, it's a very simple boot. It's a cheap boot. It's not gonna last a long time. And you do have the potential for this thing to just kind of fall apart because it's glued so poorly. But it is $120. So not a great boot for a really cheap price. So if you're looking for this particular style, you might be okay with it. Just keep in mind that it might delaminate at any time. So quickly, pros and cons. Pros, it is at least a real leather upper. It just has that terrible coating on top. It does give you the extra squish of having the super thick midsole. Another pro is I guess it technically has a real leather welt, even though the welt is just decorative. So pro and a con. So cons, it's a really cheap boot. You know, it's not gonna last the longest. The outsole should last a decently long time, but the construction itself is lacking in what you're really looking for in a boot or a shoe that's gonna last a long time. These would probably last, I would even go as far to say that these are less durable than your really cheap Chuck Taylors that you buy from pretty much any department store, because of how they're just simply glued together. They don't have any reinforcing foxing and the vulcanized construction that Converse is known for. And if you haven't seen those Converse videos, I'll link those below so you can see what I mean by vulcanized construction and my general thoughts on Converse, because these are definitely worse than regular Converse. So let me know what you guys think and what your experiences are with these if you've owned these. I'm willing to bet someone's had this boot fall apart. I want to rip this other one apart just to do it, but we keep these for documentation in future videos, so I won't do it. So thank you guys for watching. Next, we got a really cool Vans boot that I think will outpace this one. It's a little bit more money, but it should be interesting. So thank you guys. See ya.